Hey, this is Zeta. A little devil whispered in my ear, so I'm putting out some new content faster than before, and I want to this time just go over a single unit. I pulled Fell Robin from the Fallen Heroes banner, so I'm going to go over the unit, touch on his skills real quick, his stats for those who are not already familiar with him, and how can we build him into his best forms. How can we kill him? And hopefully we'll take away from this, is he going to be worth pulling or not? Will we spend our hard-earned and hard-ground orbs into this? So, oh yeah, he's a real charmer to have around, with that winning smile, his blood-red eyes full of hatred, and shirt that clings just a little bit too tightly to his chest. Oh yeah, I bet he's a thrill at parties. So, looking at his character card here, we see his massive attack stat. He's tied with Effie and Wintercrom for the highest base attack in the game of 40. Additionally, his attack is a super boon, so 4 points instead of 3. His stat spread is similar to Wintercrom and Effie, BST totals notwithstanding. So with high HP, high attack, low speed, his 24 is higher than Wintercrom and Effie, but it's not like he's really going to be using it unless you go into a full speed, a really crazy alternate build. His defense is good, 35 is really good, he's going to shrug off a lot of attacks, but he's not going to be like this invincible wall like some of the other defense-minded characters. Gwendolyn and Wintercrom come to mind more so on that. His resistance is going to be what's more of a weak point at 27. It's also a super bane, so you'll have 23 minus 4 points if you do get it as a negative. Expiration has his distant counter built in, as well as the range damage calculation that you would normally have to refine for. He comes out of the box with Ignis, but I'm giving him Dragon Fang because with the attack boon it's going to do 2 extra points of damage. Just eke out that little bit of extra effectiveness. His A slot is open, and Vengeful Fighter 3 is in his B as standard, and for his C skill, he has the new Ward Dragons. Functions like the other wards, plus 4 to defense and resistance to all dragons within 2 spaces. So, how can we build him? The next comparison is going to be with Wintertaria, of course, because of Vengeful Fighter. So, her best building for Vengeful Fighter is to bulk her up as much as possible so she can take more hits and deliver more devastating counterattacks. Now do note that this is a HP boon attack bane with Candelabra built for refined for resistance. So even without that, she has a much higher resistance than Robin, but he has that much higher attack. He also has a lot more points in his BST. But you build him in a similar way, and he also has his A skill free now. So you can use close defense, distant defense in both A and S slots and really bulk him up like that, increase his survivability. He keeps on firing off those expirations. Real simple way of going about that. Now, alternate ways to build him on Vengeful Fighter. If you have a distant counter that you want to put in, he can effectively run the other breath weapons. Now, you say, okay, well, instead of that A, I'm going to, that I would have had for close counter, distant counter, well, now I gotta sacrifice that. That would have been his bulk. Well, Dark Breath has a really good debuff, minus 7 to speed and attack. So you don't have to sacrifice on saying, am I going to defend against close, am I going to defend against distance, physical or magic. You've now debuffed them by more than you would have buffed yourself. So putting that distant counter in the A slot makes sense if you run Dark Breath on there. That way you can still get all the benefit from Vengeful Fighter at any range while having a skill that not only increases your own bulk by debuffing, but then your rest of your team is more safe as well. And you only lose 2 attack from that, since fully refined it's at 14 might instead of 16. With his might so high already, you're not going to feel it. Now, one of the alternate B skills that you might run on him is Bold Fighter. So that's going to be player phase instead of enemy phase, and it's for very offensive-minded builds. So like Winter Lissa, you want to max out her attack as much as possible. So I have a refined Slaying Lance on there, bringing her up to 50 attack, and put Death Blow on her. other builds on that are going to focus solely on attack, 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 and don't worry about the counter so much. So for Fel Robin, it's going to be in a similar vein. That ability to have distant counter is not as essential. It makes him like a hot pan. People will avoid trying to attack into him with that, or they may make a mistake. They may send the wrong unit to go and counter him from distance. But it's not necessarily essential. So keeping expiration on him is fine. Using distant counter on him and a different breath weapon is fine. But we won't focus on that too much. You want to have enough bulk, like Winter Lisa has, especially with a refined weapon, in order to get into combat and survive the counterattacks after you make it into combat. So for him, yes, that A slot can be used to increase his bulk or something else, but we're not going to worry about that. You deal with that after the fact. You're trying to deal as much damage on your turn as possible. So things that can support that, yes, expiration, but you can put in Dark Breath again. So you have that offensive capability, and now you have that extra bulk again. Or you can do Light Breath. Think of that. Grima, the Dark Dragon, of death and destruction, is now wielding the Holy Light Breath and buffing all his allies, +5 to all stats. With Bold Fighter, you hit twice with that. You completely obliterate the first opponent, and now everyone on your team, and including yourself, is that much more resilient with 5 to all stats. It's a completely crazy way to play this, and it can have great potential. People in the arena may not be expecting that, especially, again, hey, it's Grima, he's not going to have Light Breath. Well, fools, he is. And so that can synergize pretty well with Bold Fighter. The C skill, he is most effective around other dragons and other armored units, so keeping his ward dragons is great. The Fortify and Hone is kind of expensive to sacrifice into there, but the armor buffs are not nearly with Hone, Fortify, and ward being readily accessible from Gwendolyn, Sheena, and Draug, especially Draug. So, and if you're running Light Breath on him, then you want to keep ward on him, and you want to make sure that the rest of your teammates, if they're running buffs, also have wards and goads rather than fortifies and hones. That way you're not missing out by stacking the wrong type, the persistent buffs versus the in-combat buffs. As the Sacred Seal, you're going to want to stick with things to increase his bulk. Don't make the mistake of putting on Heavy Blade, or in his A skill putting on Steady Breath, because it will not stack with Vengeful Fighter or Bold Fighter. It just won't. His support skill, pretty generic, whatever is going to fit best for your team. Reposition, Harsh Command would fit his personality quite well, I bet. But anything else, fine to increase his arena score with the double buffs. Team compositions, again, more dragons, more armor. Corrin's great, Dark Breath is great. Any of the other dragons as well. Choose your colors on there and let them share as many dragon buffs as possible. Armored units like Winter Tarja is a good option. They share similar roles, but different colors, and he will tank physical better and she'll tank magical better, generally speaking. So they can support each other like that. Especially if you give her Armor March, that would be pretty stellar, because then they'll both benefit from that. Any other Armor March units are going to be good, because then he'll get that extra movement and kind of patch that movement weakness of his. A great dragon to have around. Yes, they're both green. You'll have a double green on your team. Take that for whatever you will. But Myr, because she's a flying dragon, they'll not only share dragon buffs, but she can run guidance. I've been doing that with my Dragon Emblem team to great effect, just tossing dragons across the map. And now with him being in armor, you can toss him around the map too, and that'll be, surprise, Grima's here. And you get that damage right off with that extra movement. Combine that with a Armor March, and you're really moving it. You're trucking across the battlefield as an armored dragon. That'll be great. So, how to kill Robin. We've killed the Batman, or so we think. Now we got to figure out how to kill Robin, and it's easier than you think. Don't be intimidated by his big attack score. You just got to think around that, especially think tactically when you're facing up against Vengeful Fighter and Bold Fighter. they're strong on the enemy phase, then you goad them into attacking you and let your counters prevail. If they're strong on the player phase, then you separate them, you bait them out, and then you make sure to attack them, put them in the defensive hole. So, and as always, separate your armored unit enemies so that they can't utilize their extra movement skills against you. Units that will devastate him. Sophia is going to be a great one for that. Her defense and resistance are both fairly equal, and they're both fairly high. Mages that have really low of one or the other or both of those stats are going to fall pretty quickly to his expiration because of the distant counter and the breath weapon damage calculations. So Sophia's a great one for that. Lion's going to be another one. And they both run Triangle Adept fairly often, so they have that extra advantage. His 60, with the attack boon, 60 is going to get knocked down to 36. It's pittance damage against Sophia now. So gem weapons are also really good. Palla, build her up, easy to build up, and she'll tear through him with Ruby Sword. Giving her Armor Smasher is another great option. Ruby Sword means she will take less damage. Armor Smasher means she's going to deal more damage to him and get through him faster. So it's, play that off. Other Ruby weapon units, maybe not as good because Palla has great resistance. I'm not sure who else does, so maybe you have to inherit that out to somebody else. But, abuse the triangle for that. And also abuse the anti-armor weapons. So Palla with Armor Smasher. Give the Armor Smasher to other high-resistance sword users and watch them carve him into bits, because they won't have to worry about the special damage calculation. The resistance is high enough, and all you have to do is now worry about his special attack. Other units that are going to be good for this, the Falchion users, Masked Marth Male, they're all good for that. Lucina Alm is a little bit slow for that. He won't get the double on that. He may be able to duel him, but he won't be able to get that double off and wipe him off the face of the earth. The Marth Male is also going to have higher resistance, the highest resistance of the Falchion users, so he's got a little bit of a leg up on that. Young Tiki, her breath weapon against his resistance is good. That's going to deal the most damage, plus her resistance is pretty high, so she'll be able to do that, plus the color advantage. Really good unit to take him down. The other sword, fast, high-resistance sword users, so like Joshua, Fear, they'll have a good time, Lloyd as well, good time dueling Fel Robin. And if you gave, say, like Fear or Lloyd Armor Smasher sword, they'll carve through him. Erica, Restoration Lady, she'll also be a good candidate to duel him because of her high resistance, high speed, and good attack, and she's going to be upcoming for a weapon upgrade, so we'll see how that will affect her. It can only make her job easier. Kata will massacre him. Great resistance, great speed, and so what if her attack's low because she has Wing Blade, and that has the anti-armor effect on it, so she'll be able to tear ribbons out of him. It'll be pretty easy. So he's not an unkillable monster. You just have to exploit his weaknesses and think tactically to get around that very high attack. So is he worth it? The 6 million orb question. Is he worth it? He was worth it for me, because I really like my Dragon Emblem team. I like building that up, adding new components to that, and really making them power overwhelming. For armor teams, he's also going to be good, so if you need a very powerful offensive unit for your dragon or armor team, then yes, I'd say go pull. If you are if you're a big fan of Robin and you like this new attitude that he's brought over, then yeah, definitely go pull. Have fun with that, and that's what this game's for. It's for fun. We won't take it too seriously. We'll have a good time with it. So I hope you do have a good time, and I hope this video has given you a bit of insight, a little bit of inspiration for your own skill and team building, and helps you make a better decision on if you're going to pull or not. So and if one of you makes Light Breath Grima, I would love to see you on the arena. Love to see that come up on a video or something, and see you wiping everybody out with that. That would be hilarious. So this will be Zeta signing off for now. I'll catch you next time, and everyone have a good night.